Happy Saturday. No, Sunday. It's Sunday.
Happy day.
Happy day.
I don't see days.
Yeah, sorry. I'm day blind. Blind to the days.
Man, how you guys doing?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, I've had a really had a fun little weekend. Hung out with Dills. Dills was in town. Hung out with Chad and Cheeto. They're in town.
Oh wow, what's everybody there for?
Dills is here for a wedding, and Chad and Cheeto are doing the Minecraft charity marathon
Oh, right on.
in San Francisco. It's funny. Chad's like, "Oh, is there anybody here that you want me to introduce you to?" And I'm like, number one, my networking skills are fairly suspect in general, but like I don't even know who any of these people are. Like, and they're all gigantic. They're all massive. Like if they,
Right.
I'm sure, if any of them walked out of the building they were in, they would immediately be mobbed, Beatles style, right? But we're in different hemispheres of the internet.
I had a thing happen Friday. I went to a thing, and afterwards I got an email.
So you had to leave your car keys in the bowl.
Yeah. After I left the thing, I got an email from somebody who was at the thing, and I'm like, oh wow, if there was one person that I wanted to talk to and I didn't know they were there, I didn't realize this person was there, what they did. I'm like, this was the person I wanted to talk to. It's better that I didn't know that they were there, because that way I didn't, make everybody uncomfortable and all that. So it's a great story. I know. It's great. It's filled with details and things you can relate to.
There's
You can be brought in because you understand what's being said.
My point is that the fact that I didn't intentionally network actually helped me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to rock whenever you guys.
That was
are.
then I got a text from Pee Wee.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Oh,
we
got
haven't
it.
hung out in a while, so
We're still doing things. Still a great night.
So great night.
Still a great night.
I just dropped the fact that I hung out with Pee Wee Herman. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard that. But
Oh snap!
saying Paul and I,
Yeah.
Dude, Paul Rubens, what a legend.
Who's calling?
The test tone. Weird.
Welcome to the Skype call testing service.
Oh, I know. I think I know. So, viewers might remember last week we were having some issues with Skype.
were we? I don't remember.
To the tune of Justin couldn't be on Skype.
Yeah.
No, I had to be on webcam. I could be on Skype, but
Right.
I had to be on webcam. Also,
That's right. And so our solution currently has been for Justin to run his Wirecast through XSplit.
Yeah, so I've got to run my virtual. Yo, dog, I heard you like virtual cameras.
No, but
we got a virtual camera on your virtual camera, so you could virtual camera.
No, but that's great though, in that it at least isolates the problem is with Wirecast's virtual camera, right?
Not
No,
necessarily.
It is with the connection of Wirecast and Skype, and I think it is a Skype thing.
Huh.
However, the solution works on my computer
And
does
not on this one.
work on your
What?
computer.
Why not?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
we
jeez.
that was one of the last things we did, and we got Justin working. So we
We're like calling it
Well,
good enough.
yeah,
good
good
enough.
enough.
We got
I
this.
spent like 4 hours last night trying to work on a PayPal notifications thing for a project of like where it would send to your server and activate the IPN telling you like, oh, you received this thing. 4 hours going through documentation, copying code from a working project into this existing project, making sure everything's right, going through all sorts of things. 4 hours, and I finally realized, oh, my test server, I forgot to check the box to make it public. It was just like
I did the exact same thing with I forget whether it was Square or Shopify, but I went through this whole thing and I'm like, why can't I get this thing to forward? And I literally did not finish buying the service. Like I had yet to hit. Well, like I was in the final page where I filled everything out and everything was there, and I just didn't buy it.
What?
Okay. All right. Well, I think that'll get us home, Chewy. Yeah. Oh, attack of the hand monsters. Oh yeah, I guess I need this thing too. Almost there, guys. Almost there.
No worries.
Home stretch.
I'm thinking about chasing rabbits.
6, 10, 23. It's almost like we just did this.
Where are you guys at on hummus?
Love hummus.
Yeah,
The concept.
it's pretty much refried beans, right? Only with a different bean, with gargamel.
Garbanzo.
Gargamels.
Well, I mean, Brian, that's you're just basically a carrot with 60% different DNA.
All right.
How does that feel, Brian? How does it feel?
Accurate.
I love hummus. I'm a big hummus fan.
I feel like I
do
need
like
to get
refried
into
beans, too.
hummus a little bit more.
Aw,
Like,
man.
I like it, but
You gotta have
I-
pita. You have to have the pita bread for it.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah, you want to know what? That's the key. Because sometimes I'll try to throw a little tortilla chip in there, and maybe it's too strong for the tortilla chip, and it snaps. And you
Yeah,
need that. You need a hearty. Man,
Get your
I'm
pita,
gonna
yeah,
get
man. You're mixing your ethnic foods, man. You're culturally appropriating one into the other.
Dude, we live in a mashup culture now.
No, we don't, Brian.
Haven't you heard?
Each culture has its own stuff. You're not allowed to mix things from other
Everything's a
cultures.
remix. You
right.
guys.
Sprite remix. Alrighty, I think we're doing good. Just real quick chat. We're good, right? We're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
We're the best.
We're good. We're coming.
I want to
in
have
clean.
like chat as I write and finish a paragraph. Is this okay? Does this look good? This is all right because
Does
I
that
need
grammar,
to know.
Does that comma work? All right. Well, then, gentlemen.
Oh, let me send out a tweeter.
Oh yeah, I guess we can tweet this thing.
Hey, tweet it out. Everybody, if you're looking to tweet, now's the time.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, you know what? I think we've been ashamed of this podcast long enough. It's high time we spread the word.
All right, what would you call like the pita chips that are like just literal pitas, like the floppy pita, but like not hardened or fried?
Non?
Non?
I mean, it's still pita.
Yeah, but I'm trying to search for it on Amazon Fresh and I can't figure it out.
Like pita bread?
Yeah, but you know how like sometimes that they cut them into little like slices,
Right.
So you can kind of like they provide a tortilla-esque experience, but with pita bread.
Couldn't you just get like a pizza cutter, like a?
Oh,
Pizza slicer?
okay, sure. And then I'm gonna raise a barn, Bryce. Come on, it's 2016. Get into now. Somebody should be cutting this for me.
Yeah. I gotta grab a prop for after things.
I'm imagining like a Tostitos bag, but inside is just soft, floppy pieces of pita
Soft,
bread.
floppy pitas. Pita slices.
Oh my god,
Turkish bread.
pita
No
Pringles.
one's like, hey, pass me the Turkish bread. That's not a thing that's said.
All right. Welcome to Pita Things. I'm Andrew Main. This is Justin Hummus
Bryce
Young.
Neat Pitas. Dot pizza.
/ pita. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take it away, guys. In 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
It's true. He's not lying.
Never, ever. And Justin Robert Young.
Hey, everybody. If you know what it's called when you have a pita, like a chip, but it's not fried, just a floppy pita, but it's in a chip kind of size.
Wait, tortillas. You're talking about flour tortilla.
Yeah, then
Talking
you're
about
going to
pita
hit
bread,
me up
but he just can't wrap his head around that.
at Justin R. Young. We're trying to figure this out.
All right. This is what keeps him up at night.
This week in Pita Things.
So I gotta ask you guys a question. We all like the water, right?
I mean, to swim in or to keep our sustenance?
Well, yeah. Do like what would you guys like to? I don't know, like maybe go scuba diving together, like all three of us together go scuba
Oh
diving.
my God, are you kidding me? That would be a blast.
That'd be
All right.
great. I think we would
How
have a
about
great
how about we go on a shark dive? You want to go on a shark dive?
It'd be safe, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've ever heard about anything bad happening on one of those.
We
right?
certainly didn't watch video
Literally
just a week ago.
just heard about it 4 days ago when we did the show.
Oh, guys, that's ancient history. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have all three of us inside of a shark cage. Okay, that's different. That's a different thing.
Well, plus if
Three of us, safety numbers. The three of us inside of a shark cage.
Can I have a knife, like a pen
Right.
knife?
You can have a knife. You can have a GoPro. You can have an oxygen tank, and you can be on top with sort of a floppy hose.
Right.
No reason why I brought that up. No reason at all why I brought the floppy hose thing hanging up. So giant shark cage. Sound good?
Perfect.
Not like the last episode shark cage, that small little shark cage that like was open on the top and the shark just bust right through. This is a totally new thing. It's a big shark cage. Everybody with me on this?
Yeah, in.
Yeah.
In.
All right, I'm in.
I have some video of us in our shark cage from the future, and we got Bryce there. And look, we're gonna see. Do the other. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So like there we are. We're all inside this big shark cage, and what do we see? There's a big shark, and it's beautiful. It's majestic. This beautiful creature's going there. Wait, Brian. He's looking at your hose.
Oh no! Oh
He just
no!
bit your hose. Oh, Brian's at the top of the cage, and now he's got a severed hose.
Oh
and
no!
Okay, listen, the shark is still circling, but it's okay. We're safe inside our cage.
Wait, real quick, pause. I just have to convey, like this tank is submerged way down, and there is a tether, like an old school diving bell hose.
Now what's happening?
Well, now after severing the hose, Sharkosaurus Rex is it's crawling into the cage, and oh my God, I can't convey how big this thing is. This guy has no oxygen and is now roommates in a 5 foot by 5 foot section of the cage with a writhing.
It's a giant cage. There are like 5 people in this cage and a great white shark.
Oh my God! So I mean, at what point do you? I mean, you run out of breath at some point.
This feels like should have been a fail safe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what I mean, he has a backup oxygen supply, which is getting to. So anyhow, you've got.
Oh, he's got a can of spare air.
Yeah, 4 or 5 divers are inside this shark cage, and now the problem is the shark has swum down. It is a big shark. The shark actually has a name, by the way.
What is it?
I mean, not its own name. I don't know if it like recognize itself, but Milana Arnone is the name of the shark. So
is the name of the species of the shark?
I thought that was the name of the shark. I think it's a great white shark.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So he's like well known. So that means he got like familiar, and then it's just like, hey man, no, I know how this goes. I want in. I want to be like you.
How you doing? Good to see you. Can I come inside? So you've got a bunch of divers inside of a cage, and they actually had to shimmy past. There's other video footage of them kind of climbing past the great white shark to get out of the cage. And then what the boat captain did, or in charge of the dive cap, what they did is they threw a lasso around the shark's tail and then dropped the cage down so the shark could be extricated from the cage.
Oh my God! So he was stuck, like just wedged in.
She, Brian.
Sorry, how insensitive of me. I hope
that
I don't
sounds
hear from the Great Whites.
Insane. That is a crazy thing to have happen.
So in the moment, obviously you're nothing but terrified. But then again, that's the whole reason you're getting in that cage to begin with, is to flirt with disaster and to be terrified, right?
I think flirt with and not actually have conception with our, disaster.
Sure. But I guess my point is how quickly, once you're at safety, do you suddenly decide that's the raddest thing that ever happened to you?
The divers were like, they said that like, yeah, like we felt bad that the shark was so stressed out. The divers were all like, we just, we felt bad about the shark because it was in distress. And it's not trying to. I mean, it was nibbling at the hose. And it's kind of curious. Like, what's this? Is this edible? What's going on?
It
Hey,
really, when you watch this video, though, it really does look like a premeditated. I know Jaws was supposed to be a kind of smart shark. This one's just like, all right, let me just do this. Let me just nip that, and then they won't resist, and let me climb on in.
Like,
Yeah,
how
so
many times do you think this needs to happen before you consider this like a sign of intelligence? Like how many times out of 1,000 does this shark have to screw with things before this happens? And you're like, oh, look, it wrote Shakespeare.
Yes.
I'd say quite a bit. I mean, it's like, given the fact that there's thousands of these dives every day, and then, you know, for thousands of days, you know, it really is a 1 in a million thing that happens.
Yeah, but here's the thing, you know, on the way out there, the talk is, hey, did you see that video of that shark that got into the cage a few days ago? Like, yeah, that's crazy. Don't worry, it's like a 1 in a million things, and our cages are much bigger, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody's inside there, just probably their arms folded as they watch this come in. Of course.
Told you.
Yeah. It's one of mine.
So okay, now we're 2 for 2. Here's my question. Like, in all seriousness, let's say we get a call from a fan, says, "Hey guys, love the show. I'm a diver. I run a shark cage off the coast of I don't know, we'll say Los Angeles, and I'd really like you guys to come. I'll pay for, you know, normally it's $1,000 a trip. I'll cover all 3 of you. All you have to do is cover your airfare or to come out, Justin and Brian." I mean, first of all, to me, it's not a question of do we say yes. It's a question of how much hesitation before we say yes. Number one, do you say yes? Number 2, is there any hesitation?
I'll give you my analogy, which was years ago I was watching Shark Week on Discovery Channel and watching it just from the comfort of my living room, and literally my feet curled up on top of, you know, the chair at some points, because it's just like I like the water, but I'm terrified of that, terrified of sharks, all of this. And I'm a scuba diver, whatever. But I'm watching this thing. And I'm like, I'm never going in the water again. Never going in the water again. My phone rings. I pick it up and go, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Hey, it's Elliot. Want to know, we're going on a night dive tomorrow. Do you want to go?" I go, "Yeah, sure. Sounds awesome." And my brain is asking my mouth, "What did you do? What did you just do?" and it was just the, you know, the bicameral mind. I'm like literally watching myself say, "Yeah, this sounds great." I'm like, "No, this is the worst idea ever." And, you know, went on the night dive, and a night dive that's fun because you have your flashlight and you just flip it around really quick, and it's just this cone of light. It's like the Far Side cartoon where all the other animals, you just see like tails of things moving away. And you're like, everything sees me. I can't see it.
Dude, going on a night dive was one of the best things I ever did. That brief moment when I looked over and made a gesture and then turned off the flashlight. You know, I haven't done a full sensory deprivation tank, but I have to feel it was pretty similar to that. Just sitting there in the cold, floating quiet, where it's the pitchiest dark I'd ever seen was surreal.
Yep. Well, I think we'd all go on. I think we'd all do a shark cage dive.
Oh,
you know,
I'm 100%.
I'm the idiot that was in the advanced stages with a television network about doing a magic effect relating to sharks in a cage and me being in one.
Ha!
Thankfully, it was going to be too expensive. So I'd been to a meeting. I'd mentioned like, "Oh, yeah, I had this idea about doing this, blah, blah, blah." 3 months later, my agent calls me up and says, "Hey, do you remember when you said this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's what they wanted to do?" Like, "Yeah." Like, "All right, we're going to put you up with a production company, figure out how much it costs."
Oh, God.
I'm like, "Did I mention the cage needs to be gold plated? Did I mention that?" Yeah.
It's the only way the trick will work. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's that literally say anything in the room and then after the fact, like, "Oh, God."
What have I done?
Yeah. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you right now. I want everybody within the sound of my voice, go outside and stare at the sun.
I'd rather not. Can I not? I cannot.
Yeah.
Right?
Can I say no?
No, I mean, it's fine. You guys are against science and stuff. So,
Well,
all
why?
right.
Give me a little bit more information so I'm not just burning my eye holes out.
I want you to notice that there's something peculiar about the sun.
Justin, I think I see something peculiar about the sun.
You noticed it?
Yeah.
See? All right. And you questioned me. All right. This is what you get. Did you notice that it's tilted at a slight angle? It's about 9 degrees or a few degrees off of sort of like alignment from the way it rotates with where all the planets go around.
No, because it's a sphere, and I can't really detect the rotation with my eyes.
Sunspots, Brian. If you look really closely, maybe if you held a magnifying glass in front of your eyes.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me
look
just
at the sun with the telescope.
Sure. All right. Let me get the telescope. Let me poke it in. It's like, well, what I was able to see in the last half second when my left eye was still useful, I don't think I got enough time to see any rotation. But I'll take your word for it.
Okay. All right. Now you get to wear a cool pirate patch.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Yeah, everybody, don't actually go look at the sun. Don't look at the. Don't.
Yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it is really a bad idea. And you'd think they'd make it safer, but anyhow, things that you kind of every animal and organism on the planet kind of intuitively understands. Don't look at the sun. So there was a very interesting item that came out, and one of the people involved, one of the astronomers involved. Konstantin Batygin, who I had the pleasure of meeting a few months back at an event, he and two of the people he's been working with were the ones who think they've observed Planet 9. Planet 9 is the big, giant planet we think maybe at the outer edges of our solar system, something that could be 9 to 10 times more massive than the Earth. Okay? They've looked at the shape of, Oort cloud and Kuiper belt objects and said, like, there's something about the pattern in which they're being pulled away. We think there could be just this gigantic, massive planet at the outer fringes of the solar system. They've done really good math, and it seems probabilistically like there's a likelihood there. They have a plan in place to try to image. The problem is it's like you're trying to. It's like going outside in the middle of the night and trying to find a speck of dust, miles away. So you need to have, when you have a telescope out there, you can only look at small regions of the sky. They think they have it narrowed it down, and they hope within a year or so to actually image this planet. Well, now they had an interesting realization. One of the mysteries in astronomy has been the fact that our sun actually has a bit of a tilt to it. And there hasn't been an explanation for why our sun is tilted, other than, just some, maybe it's because of the accretion disk, maybe it's this or whatever. These people have come forward now, and they suggest that perhaps it's because of the presence of Planet 9, and also because it's so far out there, it has so much angular momentum that it's kind of like a giant, pry bar as far as how it applies to the sun and actually shifting, sort of tilting the sun a bit. So they've got a very interesting, connection between the orbital pattern of this planet and the tilt of the sun.
So, do we have any precise estimates as to how big this would have to be to have the math work out? Like how many Jupiters?
9 to 10 times as massive as Earth is what they think.
Okay. So,
damn.
So I guess tiny compared to Jupiter, but I guess Jupiter we see, like, obviously we see some. Wow, that is astonishingly precise. You'd have to be to see how something out at the edges of the solar system, only 9 to 10 times bigger than Earth, could affect all of that.
Yeah. And it's so 5 to 10 times the size of the Earth, 20 times farther away from the sun than Neptune. And it is, could take 10 to 20, could be a 15,000 year orbit. But at that distance is actually kind of speedy, which is why would I be able to apply that much force and sort of, perturbing the rotation of the sun, or the tilt of the sun, rather. So it is a very, very, very interesting. And that's the thing that one of the most charming things I think we've discovered is that our solar system, it's not, not the 9 pizzas or whatever, not just these 9 objects and that's it. It's filled with things, and not just, planets and then some moons and then some small bits of rock, other mysterious objects. Planet 9 is gaining a lot of credibility. We're finding objects bigger than Pluto. And also, if Planet 9's out there, that doesn't preclude the fact that there couldn't be Earth-sized or other masses, or Mars-sized, et cetera, between the outer limits of, Pluto and out there. There could be more things. And Planet 9 could also have its own moons. It could also have objects orbiting it, which every body in the solar system, with the exception of Venus and Mercury, has moons. So that's, except moons.
I got a question. And maybe we'll ask somebody to write us in on this one. I'm trying to wrap my mind around what the gravity of Planet 9 would be if it was, we'll say, 10 Earths. Because the moon is what, 40% the mass of I'm trying to understand the relationship between mass and gravity, because I know we're getting into inverse square laws, and I know that our brains are linear, not.
Well,
not,
I mean,
not
it comes down to
geometric.
composition. So if it's because if it's a rocky planet and it's 9 times the mass of Earth, and then if you stood on the surface of it, you're gonna be flattened out. But if it's gaseous, like if we took the upper atmosphere of, let's say, Saturn, and we had a platform there, we would feel like 1.5 times Earth gravity.
Sure, right, and yeah, I guess I'm assuming it being rocky. I'm just trying to understand, like, even doubling the Earth's mass, I don't know what that would do to our gravity, because it wouldn't be just double the gravity. It would be some inverse square amount.
Well, no, remember that but also your distance from the other point, so it would be less than double Earth's gravity.
Okay. I assume this is the part where, if you're a scientist, space scientist, please write us.
Yeah, but that's when we've been doing the things like calculating these other extrasolar planets and stuff that we look and we say, like, oh, it's 3 times or 4 times as massive as the Earth. It's not actually like 3. You wouldn't weigh 3 times as much, because your distance from the rest of the mass is part of what affects how much gravity you experience.
Right.
So. Anyhow, that's, I said, like I said, with Saturn, Saturn is way more massive than Earth. But if you built like a platform that was just floating not in orbit, but like floating in the clouds there.
Sure. But again, like Saturn is not a good example, because there is no surface of Saturn to be walking around on. There is a surface on a rocky body. And so I'm just wondering.
It depends on what the body's made of too. It depends on what kind of rock, everything else like that. So, I mean, yes, absolutely correct. But I mean, if it's a icy body versus something that's composed primarily of, something that's got a higher mass density, then, it's going to be there. So we'd need to know the diameter of it to have an idea.
Roger.
Just how icy body is.
Wait, space, man.
Sorry, what's that? Was that Justin?
I don't know. The audio, for whatever reason, my audio is like feeding back, and I'm like ducking out every other word. So.
Space. We all could use a little bit of space.
How much space?
I mean, space to do what we want, space to express ourselves, space to be free, space to talk about things, the space to share weird stuff with you, which is why we need your support to make this show happen.
Heck yeah, man. You can help us preserve our space by heading on over to patreon.com/weirdthings, and you can keep the show happening on the regular. There was a dark time not long ago when we kept putting off Weird Things, never getting around to it. Somebody was out of town. We wouldn't cover it. The other two wouldn't rise to the occasion. Why bother, we said, so back in our dark past. But now, thanks to you guys and all of our loving weirdos, we get to make this happen all the time. Do us a favor, man. Join the club.
We appreciate your support. It's because of people like you we can do things like talk about sharks, talk about Mars, talk about sending Bryce down in a shark cage, maybe a shark cage on Mars with Martian sharks.
That, okay.
Dare to dream.
I'm all for that. It's about science, Bryce. I mean, I don't know why you have a problem with science or why you're anti-science at this point.
I mean, at some point there will need to be shark cages on Mars, so why not now?
Yeah, right?
It would be
if
kind
not
of a cool tourist thing. I have a sad news.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Last week, we talked about the fact that the Europeans and the European Space Agency and Roscosmos were going to send a probe to Mars. And we talked about the fact that Mars has about a 50-50 chance of probes making it to Mars. And so part of this was a two-part. They had a lander and they had an orbiter. And the goal was with to land the lander and to orbit the orbiter. Well, the orbiter got into orbit, but keeping in with the long tradition of half of Mars missions failing, lander crashed by all accounts. The lander, they went through the several minutes of terror. That's when it goes through it, it accelerates, or it decelerates to the atmosphere, and all that stray ions stripping away from the atmosphere makes radio communications very difficult. And then they did not pick up a signal on the other side. And finally, they were able to use an imager, and they saw a dark splotch where it was supposed to land.
Yeah, there's a before and an after. Ain't no question that it took a tumble.
Man,
And
that's like a kind of an amazing thing, isn't it? That you are trying to do this amazing technical feat, and ultimately you're just throwing trash at a planet.
What?
yeah.
And I guess the worst part is since the thing went up, I wonder if it was radioing any diagnostic information as it descended back to the orbiter or something. Because otherwise, like we have no way of knowing. That's the most frustrating thing.
Again, it was going through the whatever the 6 minutes or 7 minutes of silence they have when it goes through the atmosphere as the ionosphere interferes with the radio signals. So we don't know. We would only know what happened right before. We wouldn't have any information after the fact. If it had a critical failure at that point.
Because it always goes, it has that quietness, and then the release would be it coming back online and beginning to transmit again, and it just never called home.
Yeah. There's that, and I think this still, like, so far, to my understanding, the only functioning probes that ever made it to the surface have been NASA probes, and space is hard. NASA's hard, and that's one of the reasons like SpaceX is planning on first sending their red dragons to Mars and unmanned. And I've heard that their plans are, we may know because Elon Musk is doing a AMA right now.
I actually have an eye on that in case anything comes out of it. So.
Good call.
With the with the interplanetary transportation system,
the ITS.
ITS, that's a mouthful, and I never get it right. One of the things they thought about doing is like sending an unmanned one to Mars first, because you don't want to make the first time you test your Martian heat shield, with 100 people on board, ideally speaking. So that would be one of the things they want to do, is to try to check this technology, because like only one space agency has actually been able to successfully land stuff on Mars without it like blowing up or exploding right after. So it's tricky. It's really, really, really tricky. But the good news is the orbiter is in orbit around Mars, and that's going to look for traces of signs of organic production of different chemicals in the atmosphere. So we might hopefully get some really good data out of that. So it's not a complete loss at all. It's still, Mars is tricky, 50-50.
So just because you mentioned Elon Musk is indeed doing a AMA on the SpaceX subreddit. Of course, I mean, Andrew, I think, is the one who turned us on to the SpaceX subreddit, but their mods do a fantastic job, and the community is really, really good. The top question is, what SpaceX technology / material still requires the most development for ITS to be a success? So we'll see whether or not Elon answers that. He has answered one question about refueling operations on Mars, and he steps out his 4-stage process of what he wants to do, including sending scouting missions, having the first crewed mission be to build the base, and then effectively just start to ramp up and up and up how many trips to Mars there is, and at that point the city will grow by itself, he says.
Yeah, let me expand on that. So he said with scouting missions, he meant the Dragon, what we talked about before. Sending the first stage is to send the Dragon spacecraft on top of, let's say, launched from like Falcon 9s or Falcon Heavies for faster insertion, to send those to Mars. And what they want to do there is use those to figure out how you can produce the methane fuel they'll need using the Sabatier reaction. So they want to build a plant on sort of a robotic automated version of that to see if they can work to do that. Then the goal is, he says, Heart of Gold, which is what he wants to call the first Mars spaceship, named, of course, from the Douglas Adams book, A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He wants to send the Heart of Gold to Mars, loaded with just the equipment, and so to have an automated, propellant plant. And then after that's done, do the first crewed mission, and then increase the flights. So there we go. Glad we got clarification as we spoke, as if he was listening to what we had to say.
You heard it here first. Elon Musk, #1 fan of weird things.
That would be embarrassing. Trying to see if he's answered anything else here, but that's very, very.
I'll keep an eye on it. If there's any Elon Musk answers, I will. I'll chime in. I'll ring the Elon bell.
Well, since Mr. Musk's name has been invoked, we had a very interesting announcement, and we've had in the last couple months, the one with the revelation of what the Model 3, the Tesla Model 3, and then now talking about what he's going to be doing with self-driving. It's very, very Tesla's vision for these things were very fascinating. So he announced that every Tesla shipping from now forward is going to have the hardware built into it for what will be called, I think, level 5 automation, meaning this is where you just sit in the car, tell it where you want to go. As Elon Musk says, you could be across the country and tell the Tesla to come get you, and it would come get you.
So this is a case of it having the hardware, but of course that doesn't mean it'll be able to do it because the big problem is mainly software at this point, right?
Yeah, primary problem is software, and then obviously the regulatory. But that's the way their approach is, and the same as Google is that in Uber's technology is you put the hardware on the road and you build up a data cloud of all these different scenarios and situations, because you can create a simulator and you can have this perfect situation. But what's the difference between, a raccoon running across the road versus a deer? When you go through a construction zone and maybe they don't have as many cones as they're supposed to. It's all these edge cases where things get problematic. It's one thing to put a car. A lot of the stuff we saw with like the Google car, self-driving, whatever, was on a very predetermined route where they knew there weren't these other problems that you're going to have, like, breakdowns or, construction zones that make it very confusing. And that's the hard part, is those edge cases, because 99% of the time it's easy, but the 1% of the time you get in there and the car doesn't know what it's supposed to do, it's problematic and it's hard to have full automation. So they want to have the cars out on the roads. They want to be getting all the sensor data. They want to be putting this thing together and kind of having like sort of a shadow mode in which it's observing what's going around and going, well, this should happen here, this should happen there. And then at some point, once they feel comfortable, I think he says if it's, X times safer, 8 times or like 10 times safer than having humans drive, then they will allow the full automation, of course, assuming that, your local municipality is cool with that.
It's I think a great position, not only for them to roll things out because it's the best for the product, but also in the very touchy world of public relations surrounding self-driving cars, which we've seen can kind of engulf itself when something does go wrong. I think having, provided everything goes well with the release of the Model 3, having all that data being collected is such a great position for them, because Tesla can demonstrate, hey, look, we waited until we knew for a fact, knowing all the numbers, that these accidents would have been prevented if this person had self-driving on. Right.
Well, and what's amazing is by having these constantly updating eyes on the road, constantly uploading, their data. I mean, we can enter an age in our lifetime where the cameras are so precise that it knows exactly, a half-inch wide crack in the concrete or whatever. You will actually have the theoretical, hypothetical 1-to-1 map of the planet Earth, where it's like, the old saw of a exact replica of the Earth that's 1-to-1 would be both simultaneously perfect and useless, because you would basically be looking at an Earth. But by making it all digital, you can know that on the other, or your car can know that on the other, side of the state, that it needs to swerve around this one little crack in the pavement. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Sorry, the Elon bell has rung. Elon Musk answering what life will look like on Mars, specifically. What kind of form of permanent habitation do you foresee? Shipped modules or a shift into in-situ resource utilization, such as Martian, whatever. Read the thing yourself. Elon says, initially glass panes with carbon fiber frames to build geodesic domes on the surface, plus a lot of miner and tunneling droids. With the latter, you can build out huge amounts of pressurized space for industrial operations and leave the glass domes for green living space.
Yeah, that really will be, man, I just love the idea of the lava tubes. If that was already excavated, that would be huge. We could live in giant caverns, and when we want to see the outside world, go to the mouth, and you have like I don't know, I'd imagine like a Central Park-sized terrarium out there.
You could travel in tubes.
Well, I just love the fact that he said a lot of miner and tunneling droids, So there was a let's finish up the car thing, and we'll end on this thing to come back to this. So one of the big surprises has been, and this was a discussion on our show where Brian was very, very, very pro this, and I was couldn't wrap my head around that. But of course, to my point, Brian insisted the Model 3 would not be called a Tesla. So,
actually, I said it shouldn't, and I'm probably wrong about that too. But yes.
But anyhow, I'm going to concede to Brian. Brian had suggested that with the Teslas, that if they were self-driving, then maybe you could let them into like some sort of Uber system and let other people do that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm the Tesla owners. They would never let you do that. But then with the introduction of the Model 3 and the idea of that you're opening up an entirely different category of people, that's the plan. Is Elon Musk plans next year? They're going to unveil the plans rather for the Tesla network. So after your Tesla drops you off at the shopping mall and you're there to go spend several hours watching a movie, you can just flip a switch and have your Tesla go become a self-driving rideshare vehicle.
Yeah, man, that's insane because, think about it. Already we see a lot of adoption of solar panels because it's subsidized by government green initiatives and so on, where it's like you get that what a math where it's like, okay, well, technically this is a $30,000 panel, but with the credits and the selling the surplus electricity back to the grid, it's really like it's only $10,000 and I get to do the thing. Now, all of a sudden you have this extremely high-priced premium consumer class automobile where it's like, yeah, it's how much are they going to go for? Like 40,000, 50,000 or something? The 35,000. All of a sudden, it's like, well, that becomes the pitch where it's like, yes, they're $35,000. Your payment will be $600 a month. But if you, get just 2 hours a day of fares, then you can earn back $300 of that $600. So odds are you're going to only be paying $300 a month for this. And that's just, insane.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind that $35,000 is the average price of a car in average price now we pay for a car in the United States. But for the self-driving now, the way it's going to happen is it'll be like an upgrade. It'll have the hardware, but you're going to have to pay several thousands of dollars to upgrade it. And part of your justification, of course, the upgrade is like you said, it becomes this like, well, if I want to, I can let it do the self-driving network thing. And it was frustrating because you saw Tesla had mentioned in the new terms of release for the new cars. They said that you cannot put the car in self-driving in another car network, meaning like Uber or whatever. You can't use it for rideshare. You can't use the self-driving for that. That, of course, got misconstrued, and you heard people complaining, oh, Tesla says you can't use your Tesla for Uber or Lyft. Not what they said. Anybody who said that, that's a lie. What they said was you can't use it in auto drive mode with Uber or Lyft because they want it to be part of the Tesla network. And the reasons it could be, one, financial, of course, two, liability is that they don't want to have you ride sharing your car to complete strangers that aren't part of whoever they sold the car to, because that opens up tremendous amount of problems for that. So it's going to be a very, very interesting sort of situation, and I think it kind of goes back to the, hey, how will Elon Musk afford the $10 billion that he needs for his spaceship? There are a lot of ways that's going to get paid for. And I'd already had a conversation with Justin and Brian explaining, like, yeah, here's some other things that they're doing that are going to be very interesting. And then this comes along. Yeah. And you look at Uber's valued at 40 or $50 billion. They've got 100,000 drivers. You have a car network that's going to have 500,000 cars or more. I don't know how many people are going to opt into it, but that's going to be worth some money without the cost of drivers.
Especially when, I'm very curious to see what that market is at the point that this is available. Because as it is now, Uber has more people that want rides than they have people that they want on the roads to drive them around. They're constantly looking to bring more people on to the point where they're doing national ads just advertising, download our app and drive with Uber. Not ride, don't get a ride, like be a driver. And I'm curious at the point that this is feasible or legal, where we are with that whole idea, is even the idea that you are putting your personal property out on the road to drive people around, even if it's doing it autonomously. I almost wonder whether or not that will be something that's even in vogue, at the point that this is a reality.
Well, to be honest, I think it will be very, very popular because the idea of earning back money will be awesome, and also, but what it will ironically usher in is sort of, right now I think we all have an intense love affair with the idea of owning our vehicles. But and we've talked about this before. I don't think it's so much our cars we like. I think it's what they represent, and what owning your car means is that for a fact you can always get anywhere you want. At the drop of a hat, you like that knowledge that no matter what, I can just get in there and go. But as after let's say a decade of realizing that travel and transportation is ubiquitous and super cheap, at some point you're like, why am I bothering to take up this driveway space with this thing? It never takes more than 2 minutes for an automated car to show up. Why am I bothering to own it? And so I don't know. I think ironically, the idea of renting out your car will make you question whether, just as many people question the need to own their own. Like, why do I want to own a house when somebody else will maintain everything if I just live in an apartment complex? There's a reason people choose to rent instead of own. I think people will very quickly decide that maybe bothering to own a car is just a bunch of hassle, to be the one who has to hold the bill on maintenance and all that stuff.
Well, when cost the issue, I prefer to own than to rent. But I certainly think for many people, we see people who live in cities and stuff. That's absolutely the truth. But I'm a person, like, I have stuff. I go to a meeting and stuff. Like, I went to a meeting Friday. I'm like, oh, I got this in my car. I can go get this. I got this here and all that. And I can see that we might, with the transition from the 2-car family, to go to the 1 car. You have the 1 car that's the runaround when you need to go do stuff or have stuff with you.
Yes, I think that's exactly what it's going to be, because I'm in the same boat. Like, my magic show's usually in the back trunk of my car, so it's like, even if the phone rings and it's like, I know the 3 trunks are there and I know which tricks are in there, so just hop in and go. So I would probably keep mine, and especially with, like, if you got a family with kids, baby seats installed just right, you probably will keep that. But I could definitely see giving up one of our cars if I knew that transportation was always 2 or 3 minutes away.
I guess my question is not necessarily whether or not people will stop wanting to buy cars, but rather let's draw all this out and everything that we've talked about. Let's make it true in the world where you only have 1 car, and yes, you are going to be earning back money by having people ride in it. Is it worth it to risk it getting damaged, risk someone doing something unsavory in it?
Here's what I think, because everyone's thinking that. In fact, Ken from Chicago in the chat right now is saying, like, to hell with that, I'm not letting strangers in my car. But understand that the moment it becomes a money-making opportunity, then you have a budget to work with, and you can have cameras installed all over. You can have, and so like, if it comes back with a stain, you know exactly who made it.
Yeah, this is
insurance, and you'll be able to just, as part of it, it's like, 10% will be set aside for insurance.
I guess. I mean, I'm not saying that people wouldn't get over it. I guess I'm curious to know what, like, there's no doubt that Uber itself, let alone a network of self-driving cars, has changed the way that we've thought about transportation, and we've thought about what we need to own and what we don't need to own, and has provided just a whole different way for us to think about things. However, I wonder how those attitudes change and mutate over the next, let's assume 5 to 10 years. Right?
We've seen, I would say, a big example. This is Airbnb. We're not all on Airbnb renting out our places right here, but there are certain people that are very comfortable with that. And it's one of those ways for sometimes people who have multiple, have another apartment, they're only in there part of the time, it becomes a justification. And I think that also for some people who are, when it comes to, like, car ownership, of, like, justifying, as Brian was pointing out, how do I justify this car ownership? And it's like, well, if I do get the car, and then I can subsidize it through this by letting it available part of the time to do that. If you work downtown and you have this car that you can then, while you're at work, it can run other people around. I think it's not for everybody. There's actually, I found a car rental service last night that you can rent your own private car. They have their blanket insurance policy, and it covers it, so that when you go do your rental through them, their insurer covers the coverage of that. And these are things that are being done. And for some people, like, I have a townhouse in Florida that I'm not at very often, and if I lived in a different community that was easier to, I would totally consider doing, like, an Airbnb with it. I have a car in Florida that I never use, And part of me is thinking like, man, like, yeah, I would love to just leave that in a friend's driveway. And then if it wants to go do car share or whatever, let it go out and go do that. And so I can think of a lot of cases where there's just excess, it's it's different people, different things,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a big future. It's big, big, big future. So on another space note, there was a Robert Zubrin who wrote the excellent book, The Case for Mars, which is his explanation of how you would get to Mars in a much faster sort of way using mostly conventional technology, put out a more detailed criticism of Elon Musk's Mars proposal. And it's, I think the New Atlantis, I forget where it's listed. If you go to the Reddit, Zubrin criticizing Elon Musk, it's on the Reddit. I found the link to it on the Reddit forum. Again, the Reddit SpaceX forum is excellent. A lot of, there's low information and some really high information people that I've been learning a lot from as they, get into discussions and breaking things down. Zubrin criticizes the proposal from several different points of view, and I would say that if I was trying to sum it up, is that he thinks that Elon Musk could be getting a greater mass to Mars, and payload and less ratio of fuel or whatever to there, and says that in the he says $10 billion is really expensive, and I don't know how he's going to get that. I don't think we have any. I don't think from us, we have no problem with seeing how Elon Musk could raise that money. But Zubrin then goes in to explain, well, what he needs is, he still needs the booster. Then he needs maybe a second stage that then pushes a spaceship to Mars. And the second stage comes back to Earth. He describes a system that's got like 3 or 4 more parts to it, or 2 or 3 more parts to it, which when you start to figure out where your biggest costs are, development. That $10 billion is actually development. Spaceship costs is like $200 million for the spaceship is what Elon Musk is looking at. And so it's some of the criticisms people are answering it from their own point of view. And how would I use it to solve my problem, which Zubrin wants to get there as quickly as possible. I described it as Elon Musk wants to build the Union Pacific Railroad. Robert Zubrin's like, yeah, and then once the train gets to San Francisco, we can melt down the iron, use it for this. If we only build 100 feet of, 100 miles of track at a time, we can lay our track in front of us, pick up the track behind us, and put it there. So we get there, we have all these resources. It's like, no, the goal is to actually have this railroad that goes back and forth, because otherwise San Francisco would be a bunch of people living in cabooses.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's an inherently kind of anarchic attitude where it's like, look, man, it ain't just like it was for the railroads, where it's like, not our business why you want to go to San Francisco. Sure, a giant gold speculation rush. Half you guys are going to end up destitute. That's your business. You're buying a ticket to go to San Francisco. Same thing that happened right here. It's like, man, I don't know what you're trying to get away from on planet Earth. You guys want to start over, or maybe some country. Imagine this. What if it hits a point when it's so expensive to house undesirables that all of a sudden there's a penal colony on Mars? There's like Australia too, and it just becomes profitable to it's cheaper to just send them to Mars, and people can opt in. It's like, look, you can spend all this time in a box with us feeding you and giving you health care or whatever, or you can go to Mars and become some other planet's problem.
I'm going to put that close to, why don't we ship our garbage into the sun?
No, well, think about it. If a ticket is $250,000, and somebody, and maybe you would have regulations over it or something, but that seems like at a long enough scale that it's just like cheaper to do that.
But I mean, it's cheap to build a prison cell. The problem is feeding them and doing all these other things there on the other side of it.
Well, no, that's just it. Is you're saying like, look, you'll join whatever. There's a collective, a co-op. You guys have to do your own farming. You have your own governance. Go, get out of here. And we're just paying for the trip. You could take the trip to Mars, or you could spend this time rotting in a box.
I
Marstralia. Go to Marstralia.
We could just do that. There's a lot of large islands on Earth that aren't inhabited that we could just do that. It'd be a lot cheaper to do that, and they have air.
Well, yes, but again, it's human labor will be a valuable, treasured resource on
skilled
on
human
Mars.
labor.
Yeah, well, yes, but also labor with the ability to gain skills. Maybe that's the qualifier, where it's just like, hey, man, you've got these skills. You qualify for the Mars transfer program, and it's like, we're pretty sure, there's not going to be much booze up there, so you're not going to be able to drunk drive, or also there's no roads, so it's like, we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, there's no cars on Mars.
Exactly,
so
right?
You can't. Although I don't know where, like, if we're going to be picking through the entire catalog of incarcerated America, why we would want to be going to the drunk drivers. And
I'm trying to picture something like a nonviolent offender kind of thing, but something to where it's like there's a long enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of get the sense that initially Mars is just basically going to be a research town. Like it's like you're going to have like you're going to have your friends that work at Lockheed, that are going to go up for 3 years and come back. That it's going to be like that level.
You're people involved in biology, people involved in all sorts of research, because that's your highest value. Who do you want? What's going to return the most value if you go expend the effort to put them on Mars and feed them on Mars and all that? Scientists and engineers, people either building Martian infrastructure or people who are looking for what are all of the material and all the other discoveries and things like that can be made there. And, I could see like in 100 years now, 150 years from now or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, it's like, because I'm sure there was a time that people were saying like, oh, I don't know that it's profitable to get this ship, sail it all the way down to the new continent of Australia. It seems like it's mainly a scientific endeavor.
Well, there was already part of a route. It wasn't like we just went to Mars to go dump them there. And we've had a history of dumping people on islands going back thousands of years.
If you somehow took from my message that I think that this is a primary reason to go to Mars, then somehow I miscommunicated. But I'm saying I do foresee at some point that being a cost-effective strategy to deal with undesirables from some country, maybe not America.
See, it's the word cost-effective is what trips me up there.
Well, I mean, there's the reason that there's a reason it happened in Australia, and I assume because it was cheaper to just ship them out and get them out of the place than it was to feed them for a lifetime.
Well, I mean, we didn't really have a history of jails at that time, and also what we classified
and
as undesirable.
Whoa, you got a British mouse in your pocket? What's with all this wee stuff?
Are you talking to me or Andrew?
I'm talking. Well, I mean, we didn't send all those people. That was those Brits doing it, not here in America. Sure, we have our own horrifying atrocities.
True that.
Places.
I don't know. All I know is I'm excited that we're talking about Mars. I'm excited that we have a proposal for this, and I think that is a very, very interesting place to be right now. If you're interested in some of my thoughts on where the economic opportunities of Mars, I might point out I have coming out in 8 days my book, How to Make Money on Mars, the business case for Mars and exploration and beyond. And I try to illustrate some historical examples of what, what's been done before, what it means is the terms of, what it means as an information resource, et cetera. So I'm just going to pimp out my book on that.
Would you like to hear some more Elon answers?
Heck yeah. Ding, ding, ding. The Elon bell.
So the question that we had mentioned before, that was before Elon showed up, was the number one rated question. What SpaceX technology or material still requires the most development for ITS to be a success? It used to be developing a new metal alloy that's extremely resistant to oxidation, Elon writes, for the hot oxygen-rich turbo pump, which is operating at an insane pressure to feed a 300-bar main chamber. Anything that can burn will burn. We seem to have that under control, as the Raptor turbo pump didn't show erosion in the test firings, but there's still room for optimization. Biggest question right now is sealing the carbon fiber tanks against cryopropellant with a hot autogenous pressurization. The oxygen tank also has an oxidation risk program, as it is pressurized with pure hot oxygen. We'll almost certainly need to apply an inert layer of some kind, hopefully something that can be sprayed. If need be, we will use thin sheets of Invar welded together on the inside. Elon also asked in quick brevity, in addition, what technology, if any, do you think you've nailed down or mastered? He says, I'm not sure that we really mastered anything, but maybe starting engines.
Here's a good one. As an add-on, how differently will the ITS be configured internally for smaller crews, such as the first one? He writes, probably, so he's talking about the first ship, how's that going to work out versus having 100 people. Probably just pack the pressurized space with cargo. Early missions will be heavily weighted towards cargo. First crewed mission would have about a dozen people, as the goal would be to build out and troubleshoot the propellant plant in Mars Base Alpha power system. Mars Base Alpha, folks.
Didn't they rename? Didn't they try to rename the International Space Station to Space Station Alpha, and everybody just hated it, and nobody called it Alpha, and so we just continue to call it the ISS.
I don't know. Remember, it was Space Station Freedom when it was going to be the U.S. station. Then it became ISS when we brought on board the other partners.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that international.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Was that a NASA thing or like some group was
No,
like?
it was like officially rechristened at some point.
Alpha.
Yeah, here we go. It says here on the Wikipedia page, ALPHA, call sign Alpha Station, but specifically, let me see if I can find the naming thing. Here we go. First resident crew, blah blah blah. Which
it went from Freedom in '88 to Alpha in '93.
Alpha had been previously used in the early 1990s, and following the request, its use was authorized. There we go. President of Russian Space Corporation Energia at the time disapproved of the name Alpha, and as he felt that Mir was the first space station. So he would have preferred the names Beta or Mir 2 for the ISS. Yeah, so I guess that's a political thing that we're just continuing to call it the ISS.
Yeah. Space. And just as a point of comparison, too, when the cost gets brought up of what it cost to build, Elon Musk says the development cost will be for their booster and spaceship and tanker program. He says $10 billion, and $10 billion is a lot of money. The total cost of the International Space Station was $100 billion, and we had space shuttle launches that probably cost around $1 to $2 billion a piece. So is the cost of developing a fully reusable rocket system that can put a massive space station-sized spaceship in orbit around Earth, at $20 or $10 per pound, is that worth $10 billion? Anybody? Any takers?
I mean, certainly it is, right? Yeah.
I'm actually I'm ready to go on record as saying that 100 million is more than 10 billion. 100 billion is more than 10 billion. So I think that this is certainly something that we can think about.
So I had the opportunity to talk to somebody who was, we'll say, working with a military agency at a high level, and I brought up the whole hey, so would you guys? I mean, when you see this spaceship architecture thing, is this something you would be interested in? And the response I got was a kind of a, well, yeah, no, duh. Basically, it's like, yeah. Do you think the military that wants to maintain superiority in space, over every other country would like to have this massive reusable system that can put this much cargo and crew and stuff like that into orbit in a moment's notice? No. Why would we want that?
So. Why would we even think about wanting to do something like that? Air Force has a satellite, by the way. I forget the G unit. I think I want to call it G unit. But anyhow, it has a very weird sort of orbital pattern, and what the satellite can do is it can get up close to any other satellite that's launched, like within inches.
Right. Close enough to actually theoretically to hack the other satellites.
Yep. So when you start adding up how much money, when you add up how much, let's say the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, remember the Hubble cost $3 or $4 billion. I forget the Hubble price tag was, and then the NRO came out. Remember this?
Yeah. They said, hey, do you guys want something that's light years better than the Hubble? And I'll tell you what, we'll give you 2 of them and enough parts to make a third, but you could use that for spare parts. And it's wow, this is incredible. This is the most incredible thing ever. They're like, yeah, why are you giving that to us? And it was because these are obsolete. What we've got now is so far ahead. The only rule is you must promise to never, ever point these at the Earth, because that's what we do. We're the NRO. Yeah. Peace out. I mean, how is that not a bigger story?
I'd say it's in my new book. I mentioned that as sort of a side reference in my book Blackfall, my new Jessica Blackwood story, because I have her talking to a guy who's a researcher about, well, what could the government do? And he's like, I don't know, but think about this: is out of nowhere, NRO, unloads $2.5-3 billion satellites on NASA as spare parts. So.
Because it's funny. Just garbage that they don't even want them for spare parts anymore, because it's whatever's up there now, they're never gonna they apparently don't want to support anymore because they got something even better. That's so insane.
Sideways, though, amusing anecdote was within the space defense kind of network, there was a call went out, an email went out a while ago, because a lot of these architectures are very, very old, 10 years, some 20 years old. And the request was, does anybody have any Pentium 200 computers we could use?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I remember at the time, like during the Pentium 2 days, they were upgrading the Hubble, I want to say, to a 386, and everyone was so excited about it. And it's like, well, why such old parts? And it's like, well, because they're hardened against radiation. You can't get off the shelf consumer stuff because a stray cosmic ray can nick everything and screw it all up.
Interesting. I wonder if I'm looking that up right now. That's a very interesting reason why that they would need that. So, guys, you want to do a little journey quest?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
chime in. We had just we were gonna see something, right?
You were on board a bus, and Dr. Scrubs, who probably is not a doctor, had offered to wanted to draw your blood because he wants to help out the people on board the bus who are kind of coughing up blood and everything.
Yeah. Well, and I'm for it. I believe him.
And I think he was about to whisper something to one of you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe like whisper, like an explanation, like tell you something that was going on, and about to draw the blood. All right. And so are you like, he's got the needle in his hand. He's like, all right, who's going to give me some blood here?
Yeah. Take my blood. I'm probably immune. That's why I'm still around.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and just get back on record as saying that I'm very, very against this person sticking you with any kind of needle, Brian.
And it's a rusty needle.
I know, but well, first of all, I mean, I asked him, hey, you've sterilized this, right?
He spits on it, wipes it off on a sleeve.
Okay, all right. You know what? I have limits. It's like if you're not just gonna bleach. Don't you remember those signs to prevent HIV? It says use bleach to clean your needles. It'll kill the germs. No. Until I at least see some bleach, I'm not letting you poke me with that.
Well, he's like, Brian, listen, these children are gonna die.
Yes, but I mean, actually, I don't know if that. Wait, how do you know? You're probably not even a real doctor.
Because I made sure to infect them with infected blood so I could find out how to cure this.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay, so I think you need to leave. I think you need to just get out of the bus.
This is my bus.
I mean, what? Let's talk about tense use.
Scrubs. Look at me. I'm the captain now. Get off the bus, weirdo.
Yeah, you know what? Is there a driver? Can I go over and manhandle the driver?
Sure.
All right, so I go over to the driver. What does he or she look like?
He's a small Mexican man. He's
All right.
very smiling, very friendly.
And I walk up to him smiling, and I grab his shirt by the scruff of the neck, and I say,
Whoa. Like, wait, we can't just ask him, like, hey, we're going to kick off this guy who infected these kids.
I think he also
are you
agreed to
on
drive you guys last week.
I know.
Think he said he would take you
I
wherever
know,
you wanted to
but
go.
look, it's for dramatic effect. I need to really sell this. I'm like, listen, man, you've got an insane person running things. He's infected the kids.
I drive the bus.
Yeah, that's right. And now you drive for us. Pull over on the side of the road.
We have not moved yet.
Okay, great. Don't start going until I say. And then I let go of him, and I look at him intensely, and I'm like, all right, Scrubs, hit the dirt.
So you kick Dr. Scrubs out of the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But first I pat him down to see if he has anything useful on him.
Dirty syringes.
Okay, all right.
And an Oreo, and a half-eaten Oreo cookie.
All right. I at least take his scrub thing and I put it on and I button it up. And I take a marker and take the word Scrubs and write Schwood over Scrubs. So I'm Dr.
Smell
Schwood.
like a donkey veterinarian.
It's fine.
All right, and then I yelled to the driver, "Hey, driver, let's get the hell out of here! It's a beeline to Los Angeles."
All right, so he starts driving, right, and he's kind of heading back towards where you did your cliff jump, right? Because that's
No.
like kind of the only exit out of the arroyo is where you're heading towards there. You hear a humongous explosion up from near where you were, and you hear the sound of gunfire.
Well, can we see anything? I go up top and I pop the emergency exit thing up top, and even though I don't need to, while the car drives, I climb up like an old time train robbery and start walking forward to get the best view possible and shield my eyes against the blistering sun. And what do I see?
So remember your pursuers, this Mad Max pack of engineers who were after you.
Yeah.
You see smoking vehicles on fire. You see bodies being strewn around. And you see some guys with flamethrowers and military gear just burning everything up and then running back into a helicopter. And the helicopter takes off and flies away.
These are new characters, Justin. Justin.
The helicopter's starting to go off, and then all of a sudden you see it tilt, and it starts to kind of head towards your direction now.
Real quick. Are there any crags that we could pull into to kind of hide and see if it blows over? Maybe they don't see us. It's not like we're in a giant yellow tube.
There's actually on the other side of the arroyo there is a passage there.
Justin, I think Justin, tell the nice Mexican driver to take us into the place.
Hey, senor, let's double back and try to get into this little crevice here.
I drive the bus.
You're goddamn right you do.
That means yes, right?
I drive the bus.
Okay,
so he drives
good.
the bus into this little arroyo. You hear the helicopter flying overhead, right? And you look up, and it's like military, but there's actually like markings on the tail.
I activate squint powers to try to see a little bit better and see if I can glean more detail out of it.
It's a red cross.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
No.
That could be no.
I mean, they definitely were murdering people. Remember all those pregnant engineers? All those pregnant ladies? They're all
That were
dead.
trying to murder us?
Yes, well, yes, but they're all dead now.
I'm saying the world's complicated, Brian, and sometimes we just got to pick who
All right.
we're going to roll with.
Well, we don't have to rush out into their arms. Let's just file away that there's another faction for us to consider. I just want to wait here and see if the helicopter goes away.
Helicopter's still going overhead, and now your bus comes to a narrow channel, and there's no way to get the bus through. You're going to have to either get out of the bus or back the bus up.
Let's wait. Just wait a little bit longer. How many kids are in there?
You got about 7 kids, some abuelas, some other people in there. It's a very friendly bunch. They're coughing. When they're not coughing blood over each other and you guys, they're very, very cheerful.
Oh,
They're
well,
nice.
That's good.
They're nice. It's a lot of Diamond Club T-shirts there.
That's real good. It's real good.
Mr. Happy Pants. These kids got a little Mr. Happy Pants thing
All
right
right,
there.
listen, Brian,
Yeah.
the enemy of our enemy is our friend. We just got to go. We got to meet these people head on.
Why? Why? I thought the whole point was to go investigate.
Because
and
number
get-
one, all right, we're do you want to get out of the bus and start walking with a bunch of sick kids and abuelas?
No. Well, no.
Because that's where we're at right now. We have our wiener in the breeze, and either we make a proactive decision or we are at the mercy of trying to run away, and maybe they think that we're with those people that they just blew up.
So let's just run away then. You and me right now. Let's just skitter on out.
You want to get out of the bus and walk with 6 sick kids. And
Whoa. Who said anything about taking these kids?
That's heartless.
I mean, look. I want to just wait and see if the helicopter goes away. If they go away,
No,
then maybe
I'm
we
saying
can drive.
it's coming toward us. It's going to see us. We can't get undercover, right?
No, not really.
Okay, well then screw it. I'm out. Peace out. Dr. Schwood says, kids, take your vitamins. And I toss it. I'm like, who wants rusty needles? And I throw them up in the air. And in the chaos, I pop out the side hatch.
Justin?
Wait. Brian,
What?
I got to do what's best for these kids.
Wait, what's best? I mean, look, if the helicopter is coming, then I mean then the kids will get the whatever Red Cross help there is. Although I don't think it's much help.
All right, let's find out. We'll find out your answer next week, Justin.
Wait, what?
We'll find out your answer next week.
No, wait, no, I got a better cliffhanger. I grab the Brian's discarded a white lab coat, and I climb to the top of the bus, and I start waving it like a white flag, trying to get the attention of the helicopter.
All right. Well, I scurry off into the rocks where I peek over looking like Kilroy from World War II.
Right. Find out next time on Journey Quest. Are these friends? Are they foes? Are they something entirely different? Or is it just still one big, long dream sequence?
Oh, please don't.
People would murder me if that was the case.
Hey, man, I got a pick. I got dibs on first pick.
What's that?
You're never going to guess it. You're never going to guess it, although Bryce most certainly did. I watched the first 2 episodes of the Netflix original series Black Mirror, and it's freaking fantastic. The first episode was adorable. The second one was the one directed by your friend of mine, Dan Trachtenberg, and it's a great horror story. It's like it gets super creepy at times, and in fact, it creeped out Bonnie enough that that I had to make her watch the first episode, which was adorable. I kind of don't want. One of the beauties of Black Mirror is that it's an anthology, so everything's its own unique story. And it's kind of great going into each one not knowing what they're going for or even what the conceit is. So I'll just say, if you trust me, then trust me. Just dive in, watch the first couple episodes of the new Netflix Black Mirror episodes.
Well, I'll watch them anyways, Brian. I trust you. I kid. And I'm looking forward to that. Justin?
My pick is, oh man, I had a good pick.
Is it
You
accounting?
can pick the thing we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, I could pick that. Yeah, I'll pick that because accounting. I liked accounting. Accounting is a VR game. You can get it for free on Steam. It's very, very short, but it's very funny. What my pick is going to be Westworld. I caught up on Westworld. I like Westworld. I am very low grade vexed by Westworld, but I'm very curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think that was we talked about this at length yesterday because it is the pilot is frustrating. I think it's a frustrating show in that we're trying to find where the beats of the story should be and what the center of the character should be. It doesn't look like it's really felt that in the first 3 episodes, unlike, let's say, Game of Thrones or whatever, where you have a clear objective, you understand what the stakes are, what the conflict is, and all that. And I would say that Westworld hasn't kind of established that, and it kind of draws a little bit from like the frustrating things about Lost, where you're dealing with people who know mysterious things that would be like, like the writers have deigned not to turn the camera this direction to show us what everybody else is seeing there because they want to save that mystery. And I think that's not the best way to create conflict. Conflict by omission is rather than conflict by real conflict is much more interesting to me. But it's a beautifully shot show. I'm very interested in it. 3 episodes in, I'm, looking forward to tonight's episode, but I do have that fear that we're 3 episodes in and we're almost at that halfway mark when it feels like it's only sort of kind of getting started. But again, beautifully shot, beautifully directed. I like the show. So
yeah, I think in our unpublished hour-long discussion on this yesterday, we I think kind of hit on the fact that the show has a bit of a protagonist problem where you don't quite know whose aims you should be understanding and either making moral decisions on whether you're for or against it. It's like some of the best, even shows like Game of Thrones that have a billion different characters in each little pocket and universe. We have a protagonist, right? We follow Daenerys or Jon Snow or, and I think that similarly, Westworld is an expansive cast, but doesn't have the ability to just say, well, these people are in different continents, so they're going to have very different stories and interact with different people. In this world, things are kind of both collapsed and far away in a way that I think, I don't know. I'm very curious to see because I hope based on the next week on that this week's episode gives us a little bit of a plot momentum that I think the show definitely needs.
And the good news is that unlike, the 3 episodes in, the ratings are good. The ratings are doing really good for it. And this was a show that went through so many production upheavals as they tried to get this thing on air because they were desperate to get something out there in the post Game of Thrones sort of world environment. And so we don't know how much of it's just this, because I think HBO, is a very different animal today than it was 5 years ago. I think you look at the content they're doing, I'm not as excited about HBO shows as I was before. Versus where Netflix is going and the things that are going on in other places. It's not like it's HBO. It's like, now, I think that I think they know that. And I think that I don't know how much of this is just them trying to micromanage or whatever. I don't know. My pick, I have it here in my hand.
Real quick, before we get into your pick, I do think we came up with a great thing. If for whatever reason they have a problem and they can't solve it with Westworld, super easy. Last scene in season 1, they're like, oh man, well, too bad that Western theme park didn't play out. Let's open up our new one, Westeros World, and it's just Game of Thrones but with robots, and we can bring Sean Bean back.
I highly recommend you watch Westworld, the original movie. Because,
sure. Because they mentioned there's 2 other worlds, right? There's like Rome world and medieval world.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Because you see, you actually go into those worlds and stuff happens there. But like, the theme. Like, we're 3 episodes into this series, and it's like the themes of the movie are playing. Like, that movie there's cool stuff there. So here's my pick.
Oh, is that the Puck?
It's the Amazon Dot.
That's what they call
Echo
it.
Dot.
Mm-hmm.
Does it is it basically an extension of the Alexa of the Echo?
It's its own. It's a standalone Alexa without the bigger far field stuff, but it's really good.
Oh, so just I assume the speakers aren't as good because it's smaller?
Nah. Yeah, I actually ordered some speakers to attach to it, but I have this one on my desk, so I have my Alexa in my bedroom. Alexa, say hello. I think I unplugged her as I went to go show her.
All right, yeah. This is like a pet peeve with people. Like, there's like been actual like negative reviews on the Daily Tech News Show when people use the A word because the always on mics for personal A's.
Yeah, but anyhow, obviously probably not a good reason to keep it near when you're podcasting. But I've so far it's been good. Although apparently I may have unplugged it at this point. So
I gotta tell you, I mean, I have not managed to use my Alexa for anything but as a jukebox, and I don't know if it's because I can't be bothered to set up regularly ordered items or what.
Have you set it up with lights?
No, because the 2 rooms that I have Philips Hues set up in one is in the studio and then the other's in the bedroom, and neither of them are near the Echo. So it's like I would
really only have to be on the same Wi-Fi, right?
No. But my point is,
the
Echo is not in those rooms. Right,
well, I think that's what they wanted to do the Dot for, right? Was to make a cheaper version that you could put in other places, right? So you didn't have to say like, oh, okay, I need to make the big decision. Like, when you buy an Echo, you got to say, okay, well, we need to put this in the place where we're most going to use it, right? Like the family can interact with it. But I think the idea, how much is the Dot, Andrew?
$50.
Is that it's like, well, yeah, you can just throw one, buy 1 or 2 and put them in places where you would get a little use out of them.
Yeah.
For me, like, it's been life-changing. I use them for audiobooks. And so when I go to bed when I go to bed at night, I listen to fiction. Middle of the day, I'm working, whatever, I listen to nonfiction. Just having the ability of just to start and stop that audiobook whenever I want, to have the sleep timer when I go to sleep. That alone has been great. It's helped me tremendously with that. It can do podcasts, it can do all that other stuff. Its ability to deliver that content, phenomenal. Not for everybody, for me. And the alarms are great too. When I get up, if I want to know the weather, I want to know all this sort of stuff, and I don't want to pull out my phone, I don't want to ask that. It's just it's in very very useful ways. It's become a important part of where how I function. So
awesome.
That's my
sweet.
Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Yeah.
Cool. Good show.
Restroom break.
Yeah, go for it.
Roger, Roger.
So
Thank you for your permission.
Oh. Hey guys. Strings ask, oh yeah, you can send it to neshcom at gmail, neshcom at gmail, and I will send it along. Yeah, I think the Amazon Echo Dot has a little speaker on it, but I don't think it's. I think the big thing is like, hey, plug this into a thing, dude. Yeah, what's going on with me? I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this on the Night Attack pre-show. I sent off this new song that I'm working on for a consult, or maybe, yeah, no, this would have been on Tuesday because I remember talking about it before Weird Things. And so, one of the things he suggested was taking a few days off and going back. So I went in today and started messing with it. And I think I made some progress, but listening to it in the car where I have some more bass really makes me want to make some major changes to the kick. The kick I think on it is just not right for the type of song that it is, or the type of song that it's trying to be. So that will still be a little while, but making some progress. And what else? What else is going on? Black Mirror is great. I think I almost finished it. I think I have 1 or 2 more episodes left. One of those episodes is an hour and a half long, which is on the upper echelon of how long something I want to watch is going to be. I don't watch a lot of movies. And I finished Terrace House, the Japanese Real World. And that's okay. We're gonna turn you down. That's a very slow burn. It's not a slow. It's it's a very polite reality show, So
What show is this?
it's Terrace House.
What's so special about Terrace House?
It's the premise is basically the Japanese Real World.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but it's very dignified. There's no actual fights. The big conflicts are just conversations that are kind of raw, sort of.
Do you remember the story about there was some crazy Japanese game show? But I repeat myself. Some guy they locked him inside of an apartment, and the only way he could support himself was by winning contests.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
I would love to see the waivers for their TV shows.
Well, yeah, especially for some of those more dangerous ones. But I think a lot of times some of that now is YouTube stuff. One of the YouTube channels was doing a no sleep challenge, and so it was how long could you stay awake without sleep, and every hour you would get good or bad things to help you stay awake or whatever. Hey, there he is.
Yo.
I think someone was trying to sounded like Strengths was considering sending something in for After Things, but I have not seen that yet. So,
All right, I got 2 questions to lead off with, and if that comes through, then we'll go deal with that.
okay, sounds very. Do you want to forward them to me so I can have them on screen? I don't, or did I have? Are they older?
These are ones I just wrote that I want to ask Brian and Justin.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Unless you want to censor them, Bryce. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to police them? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, I'm the After Things police. Woo. All right. Let's go in 3, 2. Oh, there it comes. 3, 2.
Welcome to the After Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Yo, what's up?
Brian Brushwood.
Yo.
So, gentlemen, I had the pleasure last week to go speak in front of a class of students over at Pepperdine College and Pepperdine University, and it was very interesting. First part of the class, I was actually hiding inside of a closet to spring out after the professor played a video clip of me from my show. It was one of these like sounded like a great plan until I realized like how hot and lack of air there was in there. But that's not the important part. It was a great class, really, really good students. It was a lot of fun to talk to them. And I wanted to know, and I was walking, it's weird because when you go talk to somebody, when you talk to a 20-year-old and coming from the point of view of like remembering way back then and thinking, what was the world like for us at that point? And then thinking now the world that they're about to step into is crazy in so many ways, crazy, amazing, the opportunities, et cetera. And I would say that when I graduated high school, internet was the kind of like thing, but like World Wide Web wasn't really a thing. And a lot of like the big sort of development sort of happened a couple years later, and the excitement of that. And so it was like, I was high school, there was just, there's Windows, Apple was a declining force, and the internet was just, something that people at universities used to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that changed radically versus, Justin, when you were in high school, that was a thing, we could joke about, MySpace, or Drudge Report or whatever. Now you look at a 20-year-old and thinking about like, wow, look at where you're 20 years old and you're watching the news and you have some guy who thinks that we're going to be putting people on Mars, perhaps. Self-driving cars could happen by the time you finish college. This world in which you're living in is changing dramatically, and it's a very, very different sort of place. With the perspective you have now, imagine like, what would you have told, one, a 20-year-old version of you back then? That's my first question. And then my second question is, what would you tell a 20-year-old who was a lot like you now?
Man, I don't know how much of my answer is colored by the fact that I'm still reading Nassim Taleb's Anti-Fragile. And one of the things that one of the most fragile institutions, and I guess spoiler alert, that's going to be my pick again. I think it was my pick in the main show last week. It'll be for After Things this time. But anti-fragile or a fragile system is one that is based on a certain expectation of stability, right? Where it's like, this is the way it is and is going to continue to be. And then when anything alters that, the system breaks. For example, you're in a union, your job is to pull a lever your entire life at the steel mill, and then someday, so all of a sudden that lever's not necessary anymore, and you've built 30 years around learning how to pull that lever, and all of a sudden you don't have to do it anymore. That's a very fragile system. I think a big part, whereas an anti-fragile thing is like build up a set of skills, stay apprised as to trends, educate yourself constantly your entire life, and figure out, where to go to where people are needed. And in that case, in that case, the very act of turmoil in the workplace and the constantly emerging opportunities actually serves to benefit you because you are the kind of person that can easily pivot from one thing to another to another. That's the biggest thing I would say is when I was 20 years old, the whole reason I even did the Plan 2 program at UT was because you didn't have to pick a major. It was an interdisciplinary honors program. And I liked that idea that I didn't have to pick one thing. And it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made because while I graduated with essentially a degree in magic, because that was my thesis, was doing a magic show, along the way, I picked up a hodgepodge of different skills that were applicable to a bunch of different things. So I guess, and I'm going to pinch advice from Scott Adams here, creator of Dilbert, in his fantastic book that was your pick, Andrew, a while ago, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. He says, you're better off being good at two things than being great at one. And I think that speaks to the anti-fragile thing, right? If you're great at one thing, then you can be the best at the one thing. But the moment that one thing is not relevant or not necessarily or not in demand or not popular, that makes things very difficult. Whereas if you can kind of speak in public and you could write kind of funny cartoons and you can kind of write a successful blog, you're going to be Scott Adams, this is his opinion, not me indicting the quality of his cartooning.
And that's a very good point, because that's going to lead me into the second question I'm going to ask after we let Justin, if you want to take a shot at this, which is
Man.
you're looking at but like specifically like a 20-year-old you're back in time. What would you say? And now, would you be more specific or just sort of generalized?
Code. Learn code. Like, it's the same thing that I would tell me back then, that I would tell somebody, a kid now, that I tell myself, when I think of things that I would like to get better at and continue to do. There's no, no doubt about it, especially living out here and seeing what money there is for people with proficiencies in those areas. You open up a world of possibility for yourself. And it's like now it's become more and more a regular part of everyday like life. If you want to be a good comedian, you should probably know how to code. If you want to be a good artist, if you want to be a good anything, you were never going to be hurt by learning how to code.
I would say that. So you've gotten specifically into skill. Brian, skill wise, where would you drill down into and say?
This is the same advice that I would say be an effective communicator. If you're not an effective communicator now, learn how to become an effective communicator. Yes, it is a skill that anyone can learn. It takes practice like anything else, but if you could be comfortable expressing your ideas, we are going to increasingly live in the communication age where it won't matter how smart you are, won't matter how strong you are, won't matter even how connected you are. What'll matter is your ability to communicate to other people.
So how would I go about acquiring those skills?
I mean, as a matter of fact, there's I can't remember the exact name. Bryce, could you poke on YouTube? There's a channel called, I want to say, The Art of Charisma. That's probably not right. I know there's a podcast called The Art of Charm, but there's a charisma podcast that basically tells people how to. Charisma on Command is what it is. It talks about essentially the core of effective communication skills, and it talks about, like, there's one titled. It was a little bit clickbaity, but it said, "Why does Jimmy Fallon look fake?" And he goes on to explain that and he basically explains because losing yourself in somebody else's joke and finding it funny in the moment, and his conclusion is that he's not fake. He's just somebody who genuinely finds it very, very easy to play a supporting role in somebody else's story, and that's why he's so likable. And that's a very rare and wonderful thing to do, and you shouldn't fake it. But there are ways to put yourself in a headspace where you could find other people interesting and find yourself laughing at their stuff. So I guess, I mean, the short answer is YouTube. You could learn everything on YouTube.
There for people who want like in-world experience to test things out too. You have the Dale Carnegie courses, you have Toastmasters, and there's other stuff too. Like, it's learning things online is a great way to get that information in, but then you got to find ways to actually go test that out there, particularly public speaking. I mean, that's we had to learn by doing. We had to learn by going out there, and I had to sit down and sort of evaluate some of my skills recently and think of where are my strengths. And I realized, like, man, like, I'm not as good of a public speaker as I think I am. And I think that it's an area that if I wanted to do more of, I would need to spend more time trying to drill down and figure out how to be a better, because I just don't do as much of it as I used to. And it's a skill that kind of goes away. So,
yeah, I think that's part of the reason that I pretty much only I don't do, like, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Justin's ability to do a one mic show. Everything I do in podcasting, I just need other people to bounce ideas out and back from. The idea of just opening up my mind and having a coherent hour-long monologue come out is wizardry in my opinion. How do you do it, Justin? Spill your secrets.
Oh, just love to hear yourself talk. I think there is an I listen. I think you can learn to be better at it, but I do believe that everybody who is very proficient or the best at it have an inherent little narcissism crystal that just lives in their brain, and they just want to hear themselves talk because, like, that's the only time they can get their real thoughts out. But I think communication is definitely gigantic. And if anything, I think the biggest lesson that I've had, and that I think we tend to, because information is so plentiful now, we tend to kind of, I think maybe skip over a little bit too much, is just literally go out and do something. Like, if you're interested in any element of it, literally the act of, like, if you want to perform, learn how theaters work, learn how nightclubs work, like learn how tickets work, learn what the economics of that are, learn what a good house is, what a bad house is, like when everybody makes money, when everybody doesn't, what the pay rate is. Like, the closer that you get to understanding the problem that you have, the less you are going to be able to kind of mystify it in your head. And that's where I think sometimes we undervalue rubber meets the road kind of stuff, because, like, listen, we've never had a greater ability to model out what the problem was and could be in our head, because, hey, all the numbers are there, all the information is there. I talked to somebody who did it, right? But especially when you were younger, man, like, you'd be amazed how much how much big problems look simple once you've understood the larger ecosystem in which they live.
I've noticed that I've always been bad at networking. I've always bad at networking. And the problem is that it's only important to me when I need something, and that's the worst time to network, because that's when you just walk into a room going, how can you help me? How can you help me? And that's the person you don't want in the room. And I've now I've been, I've have things I'm interested in. And I'm like, what, I'm early into this thing. I don't need anything from anybody, but I need to know who's out there and just go meet people. And that's been an effort that I've been trying to make, is just to get out of my own little, like, I love to sit in front of my computer here and plan, takeover of the world. But the reality is that you need to go out and meet people and know how things work and know who to go to. And that's been a big, profound. I mean, my two biggest pieces of advice I would give is I totally agree with Brian's point about public speaking skills and being able to communicate. It's just key in understanding how you sound. That's one of the problems that people have. Is I've watched tons of like startup presentations of people who are like going on to pitch their startup, and in their mind they have one idea of how they're coming across, but they don't realize at all that what we see, and we see the person stumbling through this prepared thing and nervous and not getting to the heart of the idea and how unformed it is, or people who think that they're going to be Steve Jobs when they bounce onto stage and they look like clowns, that kind of side of stuff, and people who are just unaware of just how delusional they are about their approach towards things. That's certainly, I think, a part of awareness, whatever, of your message and who you are. Skill wise, and I'm going to, this was kind of segue into like, what's the most important thing you've learned in the last few years? I would have said a year ago was learning how to write books, learning how to actually sit down and write a book and have the patience to finish something. And that's changed my life profoundly. And I would say most recently was finally learning enough coding to be able to build things, other than web pages, to build things that do things. And I put that off for the longest time. I put that off like, I'll go hire somebody to do it for me. I'd talk to friends who are, more advanced in business and stuff like, no, just hire somebody to do that. Well, that's great when you're in a position to have money and resources to go do that. But if you're just trying to experiment around with an idea and see if it works, that's not, unless you want to just start writing checks for thousands of dollars and waiting for somebody to, deliver for you. To me, that's like, I made the effort to learn how to do, learn how to code, learn how to solve these problems. And it's life-changing. It is just this, it feels like I have a new superpower.
Well, and you are even in a position to be a better person to hire somebody now, because coding is very complicated, and some of the best coders I have ever met very often need the systems in which they are building. If you do not format your question correctly, you will just get spit back no. Right. And so it's like, you need to know enough to even talk to people that are next level amazing. Like you need to learn that language to even really effectively play the game, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. And I've encountered, like, with author page, I needed to do something where I wanted to have like authorpage.com/ would then go to your name, which in one hand sounds trivial, but when you're doing that in a Rails environment, that's why so many places you go to, they put you need to do it in a subdirectory. Put like, like Reddit has like R or whatever. A lot of places they don't do that because it's not given the way that functions. And I could not get an answer on how to do it. I could not get a straight answer on how to do it. And I spent like, weeks just digging into even building my own URL shortener that used author page to go point to it, which was just the jankiest way to do it. But I reached a point at which I could learn to ask the better question. And then I found a little explanation somewhere online and how to do it. And then I was able to get it to work the way I wanted to. But I talked to very experienced coders and stuff like, no, I don't think there's a way to do it. No, you'd have to maybe go do it this way or whatever. I kept getting no. I'm like, there's got to be a way. And not to say there always is, but and now I've had this project I've been trying to do relating to that. And like, I've had 3 conversations with PayPal on the phone, asking them about stuff and, getting like, I don't know, we've never had anybody ask that. I don't know if you could do that. It would be very easy for me to go like, if I was hired by somebody else to go like, nope, they can't do it. Can't be done. But because it's up to me, now I know enough to know like, no, I don't think they know what they're talking about.
Well, and I think you said something really profound when you said ask better questions, because when it comes to trying to get, whether it's an answer you need, whether it's help you need with your insurance account or whatever, there's a big difference. Or even just getting somebody to do you a favor. You can ask, hey, is it possible to blank? And then they'll just say no. Like, you never want to phrase a question in a way that no is an acceptable answer socially. Like it's just not possible to answer the question with the word no. But instead, you need to hand them the ball and say, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. I need to get from this point to that point. I suspect I might be able to use this route. If you were me, which way would you pursue? What is the best way to get from point A to point B? Because meanwhile, other people would say like, hey, if I do this, will that get me to there? Or just say like, hey, can I, am I allowed to blank? Then the answer is just no. Like, never phrase a question where the easiest thing for them to do is say no. Always phrase it in such a way where the easiest thing, it's easier for them to just own the question and actually solve it, rather than just, blowing you off. And
it's some things, like I've had this problem where I've been trying to deal with sort of some technical issue I don't need to get into, but it's a point where I get into this documentation and my head hurts because I don't understand it. I'm very, very new to this. I don't know what I need to know. I don't know what's important. I'm still things that I go like, oh, I'll just do that here. And now a little bit further, I'm like, oh no, that's not secure the way I did that. And you kind of like, secure. What am I worried about? And it's like, well, meanwhile, we had one of the largest, service attacks on the internet because of a bunch of unsecured systems and stuff. But I've noticed that my problem is like, it's the reason you give up on a lot of things. I give up on a lot of things. If I can't compute the parts of it, if I don't understand it and my head hurts, then I just want to go do something easier to go do that. But sometimes you just have to just incrementally, piece by piece by piece by piece, break something down and see your way through it. And when you do that, that's when change happens. Literally, when you go do that, you are actually rewiring your brain. You're rewiring your brain to that task and to understand. So I'm in a position now when I come across some very, very complicated documentation and coding that there are people listening to this who would be very easy for them to understand. They think in those ways. I don't. And so my brain hurts like some people when they read a book about how to write or whatever kind of stuff. But I've learned every time I go tackle it and I learn how to solve that problem, it doesn't mean that I will always solve every problem quickly. I'm just less afraid of that. I don't have to go lay down and go watch Jaws 2 as much. So code, learn to speak, learn to code, network before you need it. It's like Brian talks about Kickstarter. And by the way, Brian, I keep thinking you should write a book about you building your whole enterprise.
I think that there's a lot of really good stories to tell. I just, for some reason, I feel like it should happen after the story's completed. Like, I don't feel successful enough that I feel entitled to write a book on becoming successful or the success of our business, because like there's still like I'm not paying anyone nearly what they're worth, and I just want I was expecting Bryce to chime in like you're here, but like I just
so weak from lack of food.
I just want to get I feel like I could get 3 to 5 years farther down the line. I think I'll have a really good story. It's still I just don't have a good ending yet.
That's not. It's not an excuse, and you know it.
You're right.
That's not an excuse because you will always be 3 to 5 years away from like. I don't want to violate our trust, but you have passed certain milestones that I know you set for yourself.
Yes.
That's your ending. Like that's as good an ending as anything else. Sure. Is there a position where you would like to be better or stronger? Of course, because you are an analytical person who has a projective mind and understands that there are new places to go because that's the pathway that you want to walk. But does that mean that you can't already tell people like information that would better their lives? Absolutely not.
I'll give you an example. Like I wrote my book, How to Write a Novella in 24 Hours. And I wrote The Cure for Writer's Block, not because I'm like, listen, I've got 40 years of writing experience underneath my belt, and I'm going to share with you my wisdom. I wrote it because like, hey, I still think like a person who started out, so I can talk to you like a person starting out, not like a person 20 years down the road who gives you advice that, one is maybe more condescending than they mean or doesn't quite apply because, I needed the beginner's mind. Like one of the things I was trying to do, I was working on some piece of code, and the only explanation I found, all the documentation I found was horrible. The one thing that made sense and helped me was written by a girl who's studying computer science in Boston who went through the same problem and wrote an explanation for how to solve it. Was the clearest, most concise explanation I could ask for because it didn't make a bunch of assumptions. And there is a value to that. Hey, I'm here, and I know a lot of people would like to get to here, and I'm trying to get to there, but let me tell you about here, and here's kind of cool. And let me tell you what the steps got to me to this point, because that's going to be far more applicable actually to people than this is how I built Brian Brushwood Enterprises, the worldwide conglomerate. Because most people never get there, but there are tons of listeners that want to know, how do I get people to listen to my podcast or watch my YouTube show? How do I interact with these people and keep them coming back? How do I keep a steady supply of young interns coming to work for me, even though, I have strange behaviors and quirks and stuff, yet they're eager to do it. So I think where you are right now is far more helpful to people. It's not, your book is not supposed to be the triumph of Brian Brushwood. It's like, this is how I got to here. And where I'm here is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And as they're pointing out in the chat room, it's like, look, Tim Allen picked the perfect time to write his book. It was a bestseller at the time he had a #1 TV show, and the Santa Claus was a blockbuster. He didn't wait till after that and then after the reaping to talk about how he did it. Shoot.
And if you're worried about timing, if your issue, if you feel like timing is bad, like that's not a good reason to not write.
No, you're right. You're right. You guys are right. You guys are right.
Do it.
Yeah.
So go. Well, all right. Chapter 1. Go and go. And write your book right now.
Quit your day job. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. How to deal with overbearing and aggressive co-hosts.
We're gonna work backwards.
Gentlemen, do you have any picks?
Yes, I'm doubling down on Anti-Fragile, Nassim Talib's. I'm halfway through it now. I do find it a little bit tedious at times. I understand he's got a grand theory. Some of the examples, in order for me to appreciate, I have to understand, Middle East civil wars and stuff, and I'm just like, this is a bit, I probably could have preferred some more concrete examples to my world, but I understand that it's very concrete for him because he grew up in an area being torn apart by civil war, and he gave, some very specific, he did his best to explain the story, but still it's like my eyes glazed over because I'm in America.
Hey, I got a pick. It's an app. If you find yourself in Europe as Americans, you might hear that they are very fond of these things called trains. Trains run on tracks and connect places. Now, you might think, oh, the train, that's that slow, ridiculous thing that nobody uses in America unless you live on the Eastern Seaboard and take the Acela from D.C. to New York. Yes, but there, they love them. They run them all the time. They are also very, very confusing to buy tickets for, as I found out. It's they got peak, off-peak, super off-peak. It's very weird and Byzantine. But the app Trainline really was a godsend. They kind of break it down super easy. So go ahead. If you are in Europe, go ahead and try Trainline.
Brian, it's starting. We're just gonna get the why you're so better about everything now. You know this, right?
He's been infected. There's only one solution. All three of us have to go.
I don't know. Well, I mean, they need trains because you want to know what these people don't have? Like highways. They're all
Elevators.
just on like cobble street roads. You know, it's just insane over there. I don't get it. But I like Trainline. Trainline made it easy to buy a ticket.
Gentlemen, I have something in my hand.
What's that?
Is it bigger than a bread box?
Is it candy?
No and no.
Okay.
Boo.
It could be though. It could be Bryce.
Oh.
It could be all of those things.
Okay, yeah.
Is it? Why do I feel like this is going to end with an empty hand? You say it's possibility, Brian.
That's possibility.
That's what's in there.
It is possibility. It is very much possibility. I want you to imagine anything in the world. Imagine anything in the world. It could be in there.
Oh, geez. Wait, is it a flash drive? It's a flash drive.
No, not a flash drive.
An
Is
American
it the
dollar.
key to a brand new car?
It could be. What do I have in my hand, you ask? Gentlemen,
What?
I have an Amazon Dash button.
Ah!
I can press this button and have delivered, well, in this case, Angel Soft toilet paper. But my point is, it is a very interesting, Amazon, those of you know, they've come out with the Dash button. And so, like, I look at, like, man, what's the one thing I always need to buy? I'm like, well, not always need to buy. Let's not be crazy. But, like, I'm like, toilet paper. You look and you're like, oh, like, I've got 2 rolls left. I sure could use some more. And I just buy mine from Amazon, right? I said, you know what? Why don't I get the button? So it's like $5 for the button. After you use the button, you get $5 back on your purchase. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and get one of these because I always get the same amount, same whatever. And it's a very interesting idea. The idea of press a button and this thing gets shipped to you. Now they put in the sort of the fail safe on it is if somebody sees your button and presses it 1,000,000 times, it's not going to keep sending you 1,000,000 things. It doesn't work until after the last object has been delivered.
Gotcha.
So
That's good because my guess is people will forget. They're like, well, I still don't have toilet paper. Maybe I only thought I pressed the button before. Bleep, and then let me hit it again.
Mm-hmm. Amazon is a very fascinating company. There's Amazon, which would started off as a company that sold us books. Then Amazon, the company that sells us everything. Then Amazon, the company that does the web services provider. There's a good portion that anything you do today at some point is going to go through Amazon servers, whether it's serving up a movie on Netflix or a website you go to or whatever. They're making forays into so many different areas. And then the whole idea of a button that you press that it delivers a specific thing kind of boggles my mind. And I started thinking about like, man, I love the idea of iPhone apps and stuff are great. And Android apps are neat to be able to sort of, go into your phone and go do that. But there is the idea of that single purpose thing that does something like, is there a keychain for Uber? Is the idea that you put if you live downtown, whatever, you just put a thing in your keychain, you press the button, the Uber button lights up and a voice says, oh, do you want to order an Uber? Like, yeah, I do, The idea of taking things out of the phone now and putting them into smaller gadgets and devices that sort of work like tools.
Yeah, right on.
No, I think it's brilliant. Amazon is smart. I think that they're great.
I think they're onto something. I think they should move into rocketry.
I think it's not just because that's where I get my health care now.
Yes. Elon Musk worth now Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos now is worth $72 billion.
Man.
Right? That's his net worth. Okay. And this is a guy that also wants to make humanity interplanetary and, live in space.
Hell
wants to commit his
yeah.
resources. I think there's a high probability it'll happen if it's technically feasible.
Heck yeah, man.
And all I have to do to support it is keep pressing this button and ordering toilet paper. Doing my part to get us to space. Let's go to Taco Bell. Get us there faster. Gentlemen, it's been after.
You're goddamn right. It's been after.
All right, I got a squirrely dog that's insisting on a jog.
No, you have
I got a jog dog.
You have a lab dog. You have an actual dog.
Oh. But he's squirrely.
You know who else is fascinated by squirrels, apparently?
Huh.
Australians.
Really?
I have an Australian friend, and he says like, yeah, he's surprised when he sees squirrels. I'm like, what's up? Like, we don't have them. He says, I talked to other friends in Australia, like squirrels. Like, yeah, squirrels. Like, aren't they crazy?
And meanwhile they're bored as hell of kangaroos, and we're like,
know,
oh
they
my
got-
god.
It's so fluffy.
Hey Andrew, have you happened to watch that Auntie Donna sketch on the parody of Ellen sketch?
No.
It's I think you would dig it. It's pretty funny.
Check that out.
Yeah.
I know nothing about them.
Well, you saw. I'm sure we've shown you the Bikey Wars thing, right?
And I've never seen anything about them.
Oh, right on. Okay.
But my Australian friend who mentioned squirrels to me, he actually took them to the Magic Castle. So
Oh, no kidding.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Magic Castle, by the way, that's where they had the Doctor Strange after party.
Oh, did they?
Oh, really?
That's great.
They took over the entire, the parking lot level below. They took over that entirely and made that into the whole the Asian archway entrance and all that. They had 900 people there.
That's great.
Insane.
That's nuts. Yeah, because it's so close to the theater they did the premiere at, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, right up the road. So smart.
Makes sense.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's a brand new Toyota Prius.
I am gonna go watch the Orionid's meteor shower tonight.
Ooh, shoot! What time?
Cool.
What time is that supposed to peak?
Friday night. I don't know what time it's peaking tonight.
Tonight,
but I have
Tonight is the
thing.
peak night.
Nope,
oh, that's
2 days
wonderful.
ago was. 2 days
Oh,
ago.
Friday night.
Friday night.
Thanks, CNN and
Friday into Saturday.
Google.com.
But I mean, peak. It still means it's like kind of the middle. There's still you'll see a lot.
Sure. But I guess all night long. There's not a particular hour that is the best.
I don't know. I would imagine there's got to be. I was trying to find that when that would be because like I know the last one that was at the Perseids was really good later at night by like 2:30, 3 a.m. was seeing just a bunch of.
Well, I'll see if I can pull the kids out and get them to take a
Oh,
gander.
hey, by the way, if anybody wants that Vegas contender expansion, 5 left. 5 left. So buy it now or forever hold your beans.
5.
Garbanzo beans. Pita.
Oh, I got non.
Yeah, I told you it was not.
I'm just going to get non. Gambling Man suggested non, so I'm getting non.
I mean, it's not the sliced up thing that you were thinking, but you can
No,
slice
but I'll
it.
just tear it off. That's fine.
Yeah.
You sure? I mean, that's a lot of, lot of stuff.
I don't listen. I know that this stuff exists. I just don't know what to call it. You know what my favorite part of accounting was? When you're in the stomach
Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, you're playing them bones.
Play them
those
bones.
bones.
Ooh, yeah.
I really like that part.
That was a great counterintuitive. I don't know. I mean, they looking back on it, they spelled it out pretty clearly. But like, that was a weird moment when you're like, "Well, screw it. I know what to do with this."
Accounting, I think, accounting's like big strength is the physicality involved in it.
I gotta run. Gotta go try to catch an Uber to go pick up my pickup truck.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Did you get on your hands and knees in the courtroom?
Yeah.
Like that. That's a
Yeah.
weird moment, right?
It's a weird one.
Yeah.
Bye, Andrew.
What?
Yeah, things like that, things like the exit motion to quit the game after you beat
Oh
it.
yeah, that felt weird too,
That's,
right?
That's a weird one.
Like,
Well, did the game just go to a black screen?
yep.
Yes.
And then that's it.
Yeah. And it never comes
but it,
back.
It didn't
right?
go to anything, and it also didn't quit out of there. You had to
No,
like manually
it just
quit.
gives you a
You
black
had to,
screen
you had to
forever.
awkwardly take off the helmet and be like, okay, I guess that happened.
That I thought was funny. I don't know. I almost don't even want to like critique it because it's like such a trifle of a game, right? It just feels like a silly thing that got put together in a very short amount of time.
Hey, so Jason Murphy was a +1 to the Doctor Strange premiere, right?
I do. Yeah, you mentioned that.
I was going to just call him and get him to spill the story, but do you think that would be fun to maybe have him on as a guest for Night Attack where we can hear all that?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, also, scheduling stuff. So I'm in. Remember when I said that I might be in Austin when you were saying that I should be in Austin? But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll probably be in Austin the week ahead of that.
Yeah.
I am going to be there the week ahead of that. But I am staying through Monday. So I will be leaving Tuesday morning. If we wanted to do Night Attack Monday
Early.
as like a double feature rock block with
Yeah.
Chord Killers, we could.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
understand why this front chunk of hair wants to go one way while everything else
I
wants to go
love
another.
that. That was good.
You're probably
was-
sleeping on it. It's probably
Well,
like
I'm
set
sure
at
it's
sleep.
I'm sure it's a hat hair thing. There's something about the way like once the hat's on, the way it works itself into a comfortable position.
Yeah.
'Cause
So-
it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. All that schedule stuff. When is that?
You want to go ahead
Soon?
and just
Or
lock this in?
Let's lock it in.
Oh,
and-
I
also,
believe I want to say,
say-
November 9th, around November 15th, I think.
oh, so for a little while.
no, well, I mean, not really, man. It's like 2 weeks from now.
Dude, I'm sad that you're not here
But
to see how on point the Halloween decorations in this neighborhood are. Like this shit. There was an arms race and nobody invited me. All of a sudden, it's projections of spooky faces and movies being projected onto windows and everything. It's crazy.
Oh my god. Oh, is that so? So your neighborhood has gone full into the projection.
Yeah. Oh no.
escalate.
Like I would say a third of them have mysterious spooky lights projecting and moving and all this stuff. There's some that projects a gobo of like this creepy face projected onto their fence and all that stuff. And then like 3 of the houses have looping movies of what looks like zombies trying to get out the
God.
door. Or it's crazy.
Okay, so as of now, I'm in on Friday. And then I got wedding Friday, wedding Saturday, Sunday. I'll tell you, I might actually. Maybe I can. Would you mind if I stayed at your place Sunday?
Yeah. No, you could stay unlimited time.
Okay.
If you just want to stay all the way through the 19th, so you could be around, that'd be fun.
Yeah. It's the only problem is I had to be like a million other this is the fall and winter is just a pain in the dick with travel.
Sure.
So we wanted to get Jason on for Night Attack this week.
Well, let me. Yeah, let's. We'll
I can
chat.
talk to him. Or okay.
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
So
find out if
also,
he's
all
in
right. So
November.
this would be about we would be moving Night Attack from the 15th to the 14th,
Okay.
from a Tuesday to a Monday.
Alrighty. Wow. Alrighty. Well, let's adjourn the stream.
Let's adjourn it.
Bye, guys.